You see them outside every office building, people standing in the freezing cold, the pouring rain, or the sweltering heat, inhaling burning plant matter into their lungs. If an alien visited Earth and watched this behavior, they would be completely baffled. They would think it's a bizarre form of self-punishment. You are literally pulling toxic, carcinogenic ash into the most delicate and vital organ in your body, and you are paying money to do it. But you know it's not a punishment. It's an addiction, a modern plague, carefully engineered and mass-produced by greedy tobacco executives in the 20th century, right? Well, not exactly. The story of why humans smoke is much darker, much older, and deeply tied to the terrifying, brutal reality of being a prehistoric human. This is the brutal truth about why we smoke, and it has almost nothing to do with modern stress, and absolutely everything to do with ancient trauma. Let's rewind the clock. Imagine you are an early human living roughly 100,000 years ago. Your life is not a peaceful existence in harmony with nature. Your life is an endless, waking nightmare. Every single time you step outside the fragile safety of your cave, you are officially on the menu. Massive, terrifying predators with teeth the size of your forearm are actively hunting you. Rival tribes want your territory and will kill you to get it. You don't know where your next meal is coming from, and a simple scratch from a thorn could lead to an infection that slowly ends your life. Because of this unrelenting danger, your nervous system is constantly, relentlessly locked in a state of fight or flight. Your amygdala, the fear center of your brain, is firing on all cylinders, 24 hours a day. You are drenched in cortisol and adrenaline. You never truly relax, because in the Stone Age, relaxing usually meant dying. You had to be hyper-vigilant just to survive until tomorrow. Then humanity tames fire. Fire is the ultimate game changer. It provides warmth in the freezing winters, it cooks food to give you more calories, and most importantly, it keeps the monsters at bay when the sun goes down. But sitting around a fire means you are trapped in a small, enclosed space, breathing in thick, choking wood smoke. For thousands of years, our ancestors just accepted this as the miserable price of survival. They coughed, their eyes watered, and their lungs slowly turned black from the ash. But then a beautiful, bizarre accident happened. Someone somewhere threw the wrong kind of branch into the fire. Maybe it was an early species of Nicotiana, the ancestor of modern tobacco. Maybe it was a wild, psychoactive herb. As the thick smoke filled the cave, something incredibly strange happened to the tribe. The panic stopped. The relentless, crushing anxiety of prehistoric survival just melted away. Their racing heart rates slowed down. Their tense, exhausted muscles finally relaxed. For the very first time in human history, our ancestors experienced true chemical peace. They didn't know it, but they had just discovered a biological hack. The human brain has an incredibly complex network of receptors, like the endocannabinoid and nicotinic acetylcholine systems. These receptors weren't built specifically for smoking. They evolved to regulate your mood, your memory, and your response to stress. But when the chemical compounds from that burning plant entered their lungs, they crossed the blood-brain barrier in seconds. It was an instant override button for prehistoric anxiety. The brutal truth is this: our ancestors didn't start smoking for fun. They didn't do it to look cool. They started smoking because the psychological terror of staying alive was so unbearable that intentionally inhaling toxic smoke was the only way they could cope. They were effectively self-medicating for the severe trauma of the Stone Age. And once they figured this out, they never stopped. They started actively seeking out these specific plants. They stopped waiting for accidental fires and started building specialized wooden and stone pipes. What began as a desperate biological accident evolved into a sacred, heavily guarded ritual. Shamans and medicine men would inhale massive amounts of concentrated smoke. The sudden rush of nicotine or other psychoactive compounds would make them dizzy, heavily alter their consciousness, and make them feel entirely disconnected from the brutal physical world around them. They truly believed the smoke was a magical bridge to the spirit realm. When you look at the archaeological record, you don't find ancient people smoking casually while picking berries or walking through the woods. You find elaborate, beautiful, masterfully crafted smoking pipes buried alongside kings, warriors, and spiritual leaders. Smoking was profoundly sacred. It was medicine for a traumatized soul. It was a powerful tool used to bind a tribe together, to share a communal, altered state of consciousness, and to build deep, unbreakable trust in a violent world where you couldn't trust anyone. Let me throw something at you that might sound wild, but is taken very seriously by evolutionary biologists. It's called the intoxication hypothesis. The basic argument goes like this. Across virtually every human culture ever documented in history, people have sought out ways to alter their consciousness. They've drunk fermented beverages, eaten psychedelic mushrooms, and inhaled smoke. This behavior is so universal and so persistent across isolated cultures that researchers believe it is a fundamental biological drive. Just like you have a biological drive for hunger, thirst, and sex, you have a fourth drive, the pursuit of intoxication, the desire to escape your own mind. And humans aren't even the only ones who do it. Reindeer in Siberia have been observed intentionally eating highly psychoactive mushrooms. Elephants deliberately seek out fermented fruit to get drunk. The drive to alter consciousness is deep, primal, and embedded in our animal DNA. Fast forward to today, the saber-toothed tigers are long gone. The constant, daily threat of starvation and freezing to death is gone. But your brain doesn't know that. From an evolutionary standpoint, your brain is still living in a dark cave, terrified of absolutely everything. Only now, the ancient predators have been replaced by a different kind of monster. They have been replaced by crushing deadlines, the endless toxic comparison of social media, unpaid bills, the threat of unemployment, and the relentless, deafening noise of modern society. Your nervous system is still locked in fight or flight. Your amygdala is still screaming. So when a modern human feels completely overwhelmed by the crushing weight of modern life, their primal brain reaches for the exact same biological hack our ancestors discovered 100,000 years ago. Nicotine hits the human brain in exactly 10 seconds flat. It violently forces the nervous system to release a flood of dopamine and temporarily shuts down the anxiety loop. When you see someone smoking outside an office building, you aren't just seeing a victim of modern marketing or peer pressure. You are looking at a deeply primal survival mechanism in action. You are watching a human being use a 100-year-old biological cheat code to cope with a highly unnatural world that their ancient brain was never designed to handle. The modern tobacco industry didn't invent the human desire to smoke. They just weaponized it. They took a sacred ancient medicine born from the trauma of the Stone Age, stripped away all of its spiritual meaning, packed it full of thousands of highly addictive chemical additives, and sold it back to us in a convenient, mass-produced little box. They turned a survival mechanism into a death sentence. So the next time you smell cigarette smoke on the wind, don't just think about bad habits or weak willpower. Think about the terrified, exhausted ancient humans, huddled together around a fire in the pitch black of the prehistoric night, desperately breathing in the toxic smoke, just to feel a single, fleeting moment of peace. We are still exactly those same ancient humans. We are just wearing nicer clothes.